Welcome back to Morning Express. It's the political point, and we're looking at the future of Kenya, politically speaking, with what now has been termed as the golden handshake. The handshake that seems to have changed the tune of many politicians overnight, literally. And in case you're joining us now, the panel that we have this morning, we have Brian Mutie, Professor Wajakoya, and Philip Magal. Now, before we took the break, we were basically just looking at possibly the opportunity that the opposition or the three principles now that we are not quite sure where Raila is, whether he's still opposition or his government. Philip, your thoughts on whether this would have been a super opportunity for the three principles to now become a formidable force in the voice of the opposition? It
would have been. Raila has always filled that space of the opposition king. The void left by Raila joining the government presented a grand opportunity to the three core principles to fit into his shoes. But as it is, they are coming up short. They want to follow Raila to the table. They are begging for a space on the table. They want some of the crumbs falling from the table of the two presidents, so to say. They don't know where they stand. They don't know whether they are in the opposition. They don't know. You know, Raila has made it clear that he doesn't want them with him. So the best option for them would have been to stand firm, take a stand, and tell Kenyans we are the oppositions, and this is the plan we have for the country. That would have put them in a very good state to take over. Although, of course, we have to accept that they would have started off weakly, being the weaklings that they are, lacking credibility, and so on and so forth. But over time, there are issues that Kenyans need to be addressed, and they stand a chance of addressing those issues and earning the trust of Kenyans.
All right, generally speaking, Prof, yes. The quality and credibility of the politicians that we have, listening after the Friday, that Friday where Raila and Uhuru met and agreed that they signed a pact that they're going to ensure that they unite the country, we have had politicians that we previously were against each other. For instance, we've got the likes of Adan Duale, who was very critical against Raila, now calling him a gentleman. He said Raila ni mungwana. We have had Aisha Juma now throwing her weight behind the deputy president. What does that tell us about the credibility and the genuineness of our politicians?
Actually, the only genuine politician in this country is Raila Odinga and Uhuru Muigai Kenyatta. The rest are just, I don't know what words to say.
And what makes them genuine? Because even the move they have pulled right now left many people with more questions than answers.
Because they stand in what they believe in.
Do they really? Because with Raila, he was very much against Uhuru Kenyatta and Jubilee, but with the handshake, we don't know what has happened.
First of all, let's give a little bit of some chronology. When Raila was coming from abroad, a lot of people died in this country. We did not see Wetangula, Kalonzo, or Mudavadi in that entourage. And then when there were funerals of those victims of circumstances, people gunned down by the police from the opposition, when there was a fundraising, none of those three appeared. When there was a funeral, none of those three appeared. And also, on the 30th of January, during the swearing in, none of them was there. And there was no excuse whatsoever. And Kenyans are watching. For somebody to go and stand to defy the highest ordinance of militarism, police and security, and go and carry a Bible, that actually depicts the character of a man in what he believes in. And as we have seen before, Raila has always led his troops to a very successful front line. Whatever Raila has come up with, or any allegations that he has come up with before, they have come to pass. You can look into the Armenians who are here, those allegations. You can look into the Michuki bombing this house, the Standard. You saw what happened. You can also look into the likes of the so-called opposition and the likes of the so-called Duale. Duale is a mouthpiece of Jubilee. And Duale flows with the current. And nobody is there to trust or even believe in him. I personally am in the front line of actually rubbishing him off. Because now look at what he's doing. It's like a flower girl. When it's good this way, he dances this way.
Although it's not just Duale,
Yes.
and that's why I'm
Yes.
looking at it from
If you look at Murkomen,
an aerial view of our politicians. Look at somebody like Millie Odhiambo. I mean, there's some words she spoke that we cannot repeat even here on air against the president. But now we saw a press conference the other day where she was saying that since Raila has shaken, has had the golden handshake, that now things are okay. I mean, it's not just Duale. It looks like it's across the board.
I was coming onto that, but thank you for reminding me. People like Millie Odhiambo cannot survive without Raila. I have children who I feed. The day I don't feed them, they will go hungry. But the day I feed them, they will be there to dance at my tune. So we have the Russian roulette here, whereby the guitarist will play his tunes and you'll dance to them. And that's the status quo. But having come to that light, the politicians, the caliber of politicians that you have today are those to be likened to the roulette dancers. They will dance with the tunes. Yesterday, I had the opportunity of calling Wetangula. I called him and I said, he recognized my voice, and we greeted each other, and I said, Wetangula, I'm going to KTN tomorrow morning, and I want you to listen to what I'm going to say. And I told him, I said, well, even if we are brothers from the other side of the divide, I'll stand by you on one principle. This issue of expelling you does not really make any sense. Ask Baba to forgive you, and I'm going to ask Baba on television today to look at him and then just leave him.
What is he being forgiven for?
Whatever wrongs that have come in with allegations that they were crossing into Jubilee, getting money to come and sabotage the whole thing. Those things are there in the social media.
All right.
But however, having said that, well, if the tune dancing is there for the harmonizing of the insecure situation that has been, so it be.
All right. Brian, your thoughts on, basically what's happened so far?
Yeah, I think on matters of credibility, vis-a-vis the political players on the political arena in this country, whether they are disciplined or whether they stand by what it takes to be a politician, or they just move along the tides, I think is something that we need to dissect further. And I would tell you that democracy, just like fine wine, matures with time. And when you compare Kenya's democracy or democratic status compared to other countries, of course, in the developed world, you realize that we are at the rudiment stage, in the sense that we are not yet there, where politicians stand firm on what they believe in, and they go to the grave with that kind of firm belief. In Kenya, it's all about matters of convenience, where you feel your bread is being buttered better than elsewhere, is where you go.
Tumbocracy,
Tumbocratic politics, let me call it that way. So it is unfortunate that we are not yet there. But sometimes I don't like the idea of us, of comparing Kenya and other democratic countries, in the sense that some of them never got colonized. We are just 50-something years old in terms of our democracy, and you can see that it's only the other day, 1992, when we ventured into the ideals of multipartism, democracy, and all that. So we are not yet there. So we are just on the baby steps, and it's just a matter of us inculcating values into our politics, where we stand by what we believe in and where we actually do what we stand for. It's unfortunate that some of these, let me just call them crooked politicians, will never give you the ideal side of what this country ought to, take. They only stand where they feel that, it's convenient for them, and they are going to, survive in the next 5 years or so. And they will always sing to the tune that is pleasant to the ears, not to the ears of Mwanahinji, not to the ears of Wanjiku. And that's the problem, because they are not even resonant with what are the predicaments of the common Mwanahinji. They just want to ensure that they are in a comfort zone, they are able to survive in the next few years, and they are going to apply the so-called self-aggrandizement at the expense of Mwanahinji. So it's unfortunate that Kenyans have not embraced politics as a game, or as an art, or as a science, or as a career, but they have just taken this as a way of self-aggrandizement. I would wish to see mature politics. People coming on the platform to address issues as they are. Okay. People who stand for what they stand for.
What they believe, what they believe in.
Exactly.
All right, Philip, let me come to you. And it's easy to sit here on a nice couch and criticize and mudsling at our politicians. But question is, why don't we have politicians who possibly meet that threshold of having values? For instance, why aren't you in politics?
I would say politics is a dirty game. You know, people come up with questions that you'd rather not answer because they really don't contribute to the well-being of the society. They don't contribute to the common good. Like my brother Brian has elaborated upon, the handshake has revealed the nature of Kenyans. It speaks more to who we are than to what Raila and Uhuru are. As the dust is settling, it is becoming clear that we don't even know what the handshake was all about, yet we were celebrating. We have issues, pressing issues that cannot be swept under the carpet, but seemingly they have already been forgotten. We have inclusivity, we have equality, we have electoral justice. Nobody is no longer speaking about them. Why? Because of a simple handshake. Is it that these problems have gone away? No. They haven't, and they're there to stay. And I will tell you, and we have to admit this, that on both sides of the divide, to the extreme ends of the divide, that is Jubilee and NASA side, there have been murmurs of discontentment by most, a big chunk of their supporters. They are asking the hard questions, but nobody wants to listen. They are asking, now what becomes of our fight? I mean, we were not resisting merely because Baba said resist. We resisted.
There were things that were forcing us to do that.
Yes. The other day, if you remember very well, there was the musician who came up with the Ikamba song. You know, that is an issue that we ought to have faced frankly and addressed. Why the negative ethnicity? Why would such a song be celebrated by any section of the country? But then again, you can see a section of our leadership all right. Going out on a limb to bail out the individual.
Maybe I just wanted to... Okay.
Let me just finish. None of the leaders under the two principles has questioned this move. Why? Because they fear losing the patronage of these two individuals.
And of course,
they are in there, they are looking out for their own interest.
And the other question is why they would fear to challenge their leaders. Maybe because, again, we go back to the tumbocratic era that we are in. They fear
it is surprising. You know, there are people who have really taken a hard stance on this. I'm surprised that over a fortnight they have turned over a new leaf. The Njohos, the lady at the coast.
Aisha Jumwa.
Yes, the Moses Kurias, the Duales. I mean, the question to us as Kenyans then, therefore, is who are we as a people?
All right, I'll come to you briefly, but let me just ask Prof, what does this tell us? What should we be learning as Kenyans from this kind of an experience? Because come 2022, it is possible, given the history that we've gone through, we could have another very divisive electioneering period, and unfortunately it is not divisive because of ideology. It is not because one's ideas are better than the other. It is purely because Wajakoya comes from one end, Mutie comes from another, Magal is from another part of this country, and based on that segmentation that we support who we support.
Let's look at West African countries. We start with Ghana, where there was autocratic regimes for a very long time, and tumbocratic kind of politicians. It was not until Jerry Rawlings came in and shot former heads of state. He pulled them online and shot all of them. I'm sorry to say that, but that's what happened. And he put some judges online and shot all of them. You can see the change that came as a result of that, though that's a very tall order for me to apply it here. You look at Nigeria, we've had coups after coups and coups. Nigerians came up and they said, no more to this. The mindset was changed. Kenyans who have lived in paradise, apart from the attempted coup of 1982, and I'm not inviting coups here, I'm just saying it the way it is, we have not been shaken enough to come to realization that this country belongs to us. All we need to do is, okay, Uhuru Kenyatta is here. His son is coming. His grandson is coming. The Songos are being born every day to take over the Songo, what have you. People like Magal from West Pokot and my friend Mukua, will always remain a Pokot, Mutie, will always remain a Pokot regardless of his academic prevalence. And you look at these politicians who will be afraid of the Wajakoyas, because when we go in there, we shall tell them, no, things are not done this way. We like them being done this way. You can look at how Matiang'i started. He started very well. He was going up and everybody was like, this man is shining. Look at what he has become with the police and the mess that we are in. So unless something happens, and I'm asking God, Jehovah God or Allah, that you should do something in this country to tilt this kind of mentality.
What was that thing that would tilt the mentality? Because surely, if it's the economy, we are probably going through one of the most difficult times as Kenyans. When it comes to politics, we are witnessing some of the most difficult times. So what is that thing that is going to make the Kenyan tilt?
Well,
populace,
the economy is good. We have messed up the economy ourselves. There's a lot of money in this country. 11 billion have just been stolen from Kenyatta National Hospital, and nobody's talking about it. All we know is that some MPs from Rift Valley have come up to shield one of their own, but they are not telling us as to who put the hand in the till to remove those 11 billion. Imagine what 11 billion will do in this country. It will build all the infrastructure. That's number one. The Eurobond thing has just been covered and covered. How can we say that you have a bad economy when you have hands being put in tills everywhere? When parastatals, and I refused some appointment recently to be chair of what have you, I said no. When some of these parastatals have been looted green. Look at foreign investors who are coming in this country. When you come in from China, you're told, you go and invest. I mean, before you put your infrastructure down and investment, you have to insure with a particular insurance company, which belongs to who? Who is not telling us this? Unless we come out and we speak it, and even go out there, have people's assembly, discuss some of these leaders, we are doomed. Even that golden handshake is going to bring tears very soon.
Brian.
Just delving on the golden handshake, as Wajako is rightly putting it, I think to me, there's something that disturbed me when I saw that handshake, because it came so fast that it left some dust on our eyes. And to me, I think Baba was on a momentum to agitate for some sort of reforms, especially, you know, measuring on the so-called electoral justice. And to me, you know, I anticipated or expected, you know, some pointers, some various pointers to have been addressed before the handshake actually came into perspective. Because there is what Raila was actually fighting for, and not Raila alone, but the so-called NASA fraternity in general. And those key areas that they were agitating for in terms of reforms would have actually formed the basis of the handshake. And by the time the handshake was coming into perspective, we would have actually been treated to a sort of a creation of an understanding of a MOU that the two gentlemen have agreed to implement this written, you know, sort of understanding in terms of pointers like electoral justice, overhauling the IBC if that's the case, police service reforms, issues to do with the electoral justice. Those are some of the issues that perhaps we would have seen coming into the fore before we see the handshake first. But that never came. We saw the handshake first, and then we were told that some other issues are going to follow in terms of a team which is going to be led by Lawyer Mwangi to address some of these issues. Anyway, it could either work, but what I anticipated is actually the MOU first being signed and then the handshake coming into the fore. But all notwithstanding, I think I just want to pick on something that Wajakoya is talking about when it comes to, you know, financial prudence, matters of the economy, and whether we are doing the right thing. I think as a country, I must say that we are not badly off, but we need to have some sort of disruptions in terms of the governance, in terms of, you know, the decision makers, top decision makers, making some strong statements on how to toe the line. Because this issue of looting public coffers and just walking scot-free, you know, it is not even sending the right signals to those who want to base. I mean, those are potential replacements of the political arena. Because what would you tell your son once he grows up that somebody looted at least almost $1 billion shillings or 11 billion, as he has rightly put it, and walked scot-free? Where are the institutions? Where are the courts? Where is the anti-corruption authority? Where are the other institutions that all work together towards addressing matters of good governance? If The answer is that they were on slumberland. Then we have to ask the hard questions. What is the way forward for this country? How do we create those disruptions so that people can learn hard lessons in the hard way?
All right. Philip, one of the things that kept NASA afloat and their agenda were quite clear as to why they were against Jubilee government with things like electoral reforms, graft that we've talked about. Right now, there's an article of Eurobond that has now come in with 40 billion missing, although not clear whether it's missing or what's happening. But those are issues that are going to drive us into a worse state as Kenya.
Yes.
Are you, number one, worried that we do not have the details of what the handshake was all about? Is that something that concerns you, that the details are scanty? We are yet to know what exactly transpired. Because where does that leave all those issues that had been raised by NASA?
Yes, and I would start by working on the backdrop introduced by my brother Brian on that particular topic. The thing is, NASA had gained momentum. It had really gained momentum by boycotting the elections, by the swearing in, by coming up with their agendas.
List of companies to resist.
Yes, yes. Kenyans were really focused on addressing some of these issues. One of those issues being inclusivity. Inclusivity has been has led to all the other problems. It is what has led to negative ethnicity, is what is leading to corruptions. That is why we can see people from Kericho County fighting to keep one of their own at KNH when a brother there got a wrongful brain surgery, which should have sent heads rolling. And now the questions to Kenyan is now, what becomes of these issues?
All those agendas.
Yeah, what becomes of these agendas? We had an empty golden handshake, placed nothing on the table for us. Now, how do we move from here? I would challenge the civil society, I'll challenge the religious leaders and other upcoming leaders to offer alternative leadership. Because as it is, the other co-principals who are saying they are going to play the role of the opposition cannot be trusted. These are people who are masters in betrayal, as somebody has called them today in one of the dailies. They cannot be trusted. They have been wavering, flowing to and forth, back and forth with the wind. That is Kalonzo, Wetangula, and Musalia. We need a third force. And now that there is a vacuum, this is the moment for them to come up and say, we are picking off from where Raila is. I would also challenge the citizenry. These are their problems. And to address them, they have to dictate the agenda for the two principles. They have to remind Raila, they have to remind Uhuru that we have problems, we have corruption, we have poverty, we have problems of inclusivity, ethnicity, and we need you to address this. And that committee of two people, I really don't see it coming up with anything. I mean, these are two people.
Two individuals, and we're not sure what happened.
What miracles can they come up with?
We're running out of time, so Brian, I'll need your closing comments briefly.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think, first of all, Mike, we need to look into the legal, supreme legal framework. That's the constitution of this country, and see, the gaps that are existing. It has several deficiencies that are existing that need to be looked upon and see how we can, minimize the gaps and see how that document can, benefit us as Kenyans in general in a better way. And I would want to say that we are tired as Kenyans of seeing, the same figures occupying the political arena decade after decade. I would imagine of a situation where we have emergent leaders, but because of the way we have a legal constraint where the ceiling is too hard to break for emerging leaders, it becomes, very impossible for somebody like Mike and Wajakoya and maybe Magaya here to break that ceiling and, become an emergent leader, because there are some people who have sealed that, ceiling and made that their own political space, and now that is denied other people to occupy the same. Look at France. We have a 37-year-old president who is actually calling the shots because the law allows, some people to emerge from nowhere and occupy because they have good ideas. And I will tell you, one solution is actually looking at this law and barring candidates from participating not more than twice in an electoral process. If it's member of parliament, you have your 2 terms, you are off. Governor, president, you are 2 terms. And if you vied and you lost, even in America, moral dictates that you don't go again to the people if you lost in the first shot. So in Kenya, we can actually put a caveat in terms of law where we are barring people, whether they lose or they win, from vying for more than 2 times, so that we create room for other generations to occupy that political arena.
All right, and your closing comments, Prof.
Yes, I would like to take this opportunity to send my sympathies to the police officers or members of the police service, I having served in the service for a very long time, that what Kavuludi has done is inhuman, degrading, and humiliating. The police officers have taken loans, have guarantors who have guaranteed those loans, and Mr. Kavuludi has no moral authority to come up with some kind of low-level declarations of a very low-level officer in the government to come and take away what is actually enshrined in the Constitution. That is Article 43 of the Constitution about social and economic rights for the police officers, Article 54 of the Constitution, which talks of disability, and the Disability Act is very clear that any person who is disabled is exempt from paying income tax. Kavuludi has made it now possible that police officers who have been shot in the course of their duty, who have been exempted from paying taxes, income taxes,